Hey everybody, and welcome back to day 3. And today I want to talk about scheduling scenarios, and I'm going to discuss with you the very strict schedule that you should be keeping. Alright? Let me start by setting some very clear expectations for how much time your children should be spending in educational pursuits over this time period. And begin by debunking this idea that all we do in schools is work, because that's just not the case on any level, really, not at any time. Schools are about, yes, teaching and learning, education, but also about socialization, babysitting, let's be honest here, and we spend an inordinate amount of time doing lots of other things that are not anything to do with teaching and learning. Here's the deal, all right? When I'm teaching a 45-minute lesson, I can expect maybe 30 minutes of that time in actual teaching and learning. That's on a good day. So not on a Monday morning, and definitely not on a Friday afternoon, or after a sports carnival, or when starting a new topic, or just after or before an assembly, or anyway, you get the idea, I hope. This means that on a good day, for a 6-period day of 45 minutes a period, I will get a total of 3 hours of learning. And this is when I'm teaching year 9s and 10s. Okay, because let's face it, the bell goes, my students are lining up when they get there from their other class if they've been let out on time. I then have to get them in and settled. They then have to open their books. We have to find the pens that they have to use. And I'm talking about a good school here where they actually bring their own pens and pencils. And then, we start the lesson, we do the teaching, and then we have another break at the end where we have to tidy up, set homework and expectations for the next lesson. We lose probably 5 to 7 minutes at the beginning, and another 5 minutes at the end. That's 12 minutes all up out of 45 minutes that are lost, that are not part of the actual teaching and learning time. So 30 minutes, which means that I'm going to get 3 hours, all right, when it's year 9s and 10s. This will go up a little with 11s and 12s. They tend to be a little bit more focused and a little bit more demanding and a little bit more needing it. But it goes rapidly down for things like middle school and, junior school. If you have a 6-year-old, you're not going to expect more than about 1.5 hours of learning tops a day, and definitely not all in one block. I mean, really, actually, seriously, I would struggle with that on some days. Certainly when I'm really focused, I can really bog in and get some stuff done. But let's face it, how many of you will spend an hour and a half concentrating on a thing? You're off doing Facebook, you're off getting a cup of coffee or tea, and all the rest of it. Certainly not for a 6-year-old. Okay, so let's set some actual clear expectations of how much time they should be spending in educational pursuits. And I say educational pursuits because I'm going to unpack that a little bit later on, what that actually might look like. But the times, here we go. Junior school up to year 3, I'm looking at about 1.5 hours a day. Middle school to year 7, probably 2 to 2.5 hours. High school to year 10, we're going maybe 3 to 3.5 hours. And then senior school, up to 5 hours a day. And do try to make sure that they're going to have some good breaks in that time, because there are students in this group who might take on too much due to stress and anxiety, concerns about the interruptions to their education, particularly if they're high achieving. If you've got a high achiever, they're going to need some quality breaks, and you're going to have to monitor that part of their lives, because those breaks become really important for their own mental health. So what should a schedule look like? Well, I recommend a sleep-in. Actually though, a relaxed start to the morning is actually really good. You're at home and you're a family. Remember, we're not teachers, we're not at school, we're not doing any of that stuff. We're just relaxing and being at home and being family. And then we get into the day. What you should be focusing on is a balance of activities. I mentioned in my first video this great suggestion that I saw from the money saving mum, Crystal Payne, and it really fits in with my own mantra of do it with them and not for them. So she asked her children to, and I think the youngest was 11, the oldest was 15, to set their own schedules, working with some simple parameters that she had set in place. And she had 3. She said something active, something helpful, so stuff around the house, and something educational. And I love that. And then she had as the final parameter, no electronics, not even for learning, until after 1 p.m. I think you're going to have to be a bit flexible, particularly if your students are doing distance learning from school. But, maybe no gaming until after 1 p.m. This, as she said, would help them to teach them time management skills. And I think it's a great idea. And of course, it helps to make your kids self-directed, independent and motivated learners, which I'm all about. It's a great way to get your kids to show initiative. You can check their schedules and ask them to write it down and show you, and then you approve those schedules with them and work it through with them, help them to balance it better if you feel that they're not quite balanced doing it with them. But it means that they then take that responsibility for their own learning again. Now, remember flexibility, my flexibility goal from yesterday. Keeping it flexible, allow for some grace time. Schools have all sorts of interruptions to learning. Those sports carnivals I mentioned, the assemblies, there are excursions. And I know you can't actually do any of that right now at this time. But there are just going to be days when, actually, that's a really good topic for tomorrow. I'm going to leave it there. Because the question I get to ask from my kids is, can I have a pajama day today? And I tell you what, that's a good question to answer tomorrow.